Hey guys, I'm Elegant and welcome to another weekly Pokevlog. So this is actually being recorded on Monday morning. I'm sorry about that, I'm sorry it's up a little bit late, but if you look at my bulletins, because I posted a bulletin last night on YouTube, then you'll already know why. But last night I did actually record a little bit late because I was busy during the day, and therefore the camera and the video quality was awful because the lighting was kind of horrible. So I'm sorry about that. I decided it would be better off for me to do this today and get up a little bit late with a better quality video, because the video just wasn't good quality at all. So as you probably already know from last week, this week's topic is going to be Ruby Sapphire Remix. Again, I know I've done like 2 of these before. I wouldn't recommend watching the first one because that was like half an hour long. It was my first update vlog, and yeah, it just went on for too long and just rambled so much. My second one sort of sums it up a little bit more, and actually talks about the first things I talked about. So I'd recommend watching that because I'm not going to talk about a few things I talked about in this video. So go watch that. And this video, of course, is going to be hints to it, also my opinions like I usually put in, and what I think should happen and what I think would be cool. And also it's going to be sort of proving hints wrong, saying sort of finding the false hints and what a lot of people are saying. So the first thing I'm going to say is about, I suppose, a hint that most people refer to is things being coloured red, green, or blue. So you've got the Ruby, Emerald, and Sapphire. Wrong order, but you know what I'm trying to say. People, if they see sort of like a red Pokeball, a blue Pokeball, or a green Pokeball, you automatically assume it's going to be Ruby Sapphire Remix. And I just want to completely just put that aside, because that isn't a hint whatsoever, because the Pokemon games, I know I've said this before, but I want to say it again, because I keep hearing it everywhere, red, green, and blue. People keep thinking Ruby Sapphire Remix, but it's not, because Pokemon, I've always had the red, green, and blue for the games. The red and blue for the first 2 games, and the third game has been green. So if I'll give you the examples from each generation. So the first generation you had red, green, and blue. Of course, there's red, green, and blue there. The second generation was a bit more ambiguous. There was the Soul Silver, not Soul Silver, that was the 4th gen, the silver and the gold. The silver was actually a bluey colour, as well as Lugia being blue itself. And gold was a sort of a reddy colour, and Ho-Oh being a sort of an orangey red itself. And Crystal was actually a little bit even more ambiguous. It was sort of a turquoisey bluey green colour, and there was sort of some green in the background of the box art, as well as the game itself being a sort of a bluey green. It was like a very green turquoise, so that fits it for that. And the 3rd generation, of course, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, red, green, and blue. And then the 4th generation was again a bit ambiguous, but it was Diamond, Platinum, and Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. Diamond and Pearl were either bluey or a reddy colour. I can't remember which was which, but I know the orbs were either a bluey or reddy. And the legendaries were a little bit of blue already in them as well, so they were just kind of faint colours, but it was kind of clear once you looked at it. And Platinum actually also had some green in the background. And of course the 5th generation has the red and the blue for Zekrom and Reshiram, so it always follows the red, green, and blue. And so it really, if you see any hints saying, oh, there's going to be Ruby Sapphire Remix because there's something red, green, or blue, then it's not a hint. It's not a hint at all. So I just want to clarify that to anybody who tends to think that maybe that gives them a hint. So I don't know. But let's get into some things that could mean hints. So the black and white characters, the playable characters, are called Hilda and Hilbert. And in Black and White 2, you can actually visit their mother. And when you go visit their mother in Black and White 2, and I think it's the actual mother of Hilbert, the male character in Black and White 2, she will say that her son has gone to look for N in another region. And, well, that could mean that they've gone to Hoenn. It could be a hint to Hoenn. It also could be a hint to another sequel to Black and White, so a sequel to Black and White 2, which would be like the 2nd sequel, which would be kind of crazy doing another sequel to such a long storyline, because they've never done a sequel before, never mind another 2nd sequel to it. It could mean a sequel, but I think I quite like another sequel. The reason being is because in each generation, from the 3rd generation, there's always been the main series game, like the Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and then there's been the remake, like the Heart Gold, Soul Silver. And there's not really been anything linked to them. All the game mechanics and the game graphics and stuff, they've all been pretty similar, and that's what sort of connected them, and all the sprites and things like that. Sorry, my throat's being a little bit funny today. So there's nothing really connecting the storylines though. The games are connected in the way that they made the Pokemon and all that sort of stuff. There's no storyline connecting the games, and I think that's a bit like, it doesn't quite work since there's one generation, and I think the one generation should be like one and united. So maybe if they make the remakes, but not just remakes, with a new storyline continued from the Black and White in the 5th generation, I think that would be a really good thing to do, because I know a lot of people are kind of fed up with them making remakes, and because it's the same old thing. And I know people want the original remakes, but I think a new storyline could serve it well. And I don't know, it could be a hint to that, it could just be a hint to a homing remake. It could also be a hint to something else, like, it doesn't actually specifically say Hoenn, I don't think. I'm not quite sure, because originally when I looked it up, I found that her mum said specifically about the N went to Hoenn, and her son went to Hoenn. But when I looked it up again later on, like last night, I found that she just said to another region. So I wasn't sure whether it was just Hoenn or another region, but I'm kind of assuming it could be Hoenn. So it could be. Or it could just be a completely new region and we could get a new region there. But since it wasn't Japanese, it's quite difficult to translate, so we might get some more info once the English game's out, and then we might get to see if it's actually saying Hoenn or some other place, or just not at all. But yeah, we'll see when that comes out. Another hint to another hint to Ruby Sapphire remakes. Well, not really a hint, but a reason for them making Ruby Sapphire remakes is that again, I'm very sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my throat today. Is a reason for making the Ruby Sapphire remakes is that the Ruby Sapphire Emerald games didn't feel complete. For example, that was the only game, the Ruby Sapphire Emerald games were the only game that you didn't see your rival, which was May's final evolution of the star. So like if you chose Trico, you only saw Combuskin, you didn't see Blaziken. If you chose Mudkip, you only saw Grove Valley, you didn't see Septown. And if you chose Torchic, you only saw Marshtomp, you didn't see Swampert. So therefore it just kind of feels a little bit unfinished. As well as Wally, he was your rival. He got to the the Victory Road, but he didn't actually challenge the Elite Four. I think he was about to. He was like on his way to go, and you feel it's a little bit. You could add a little bit more to the end. It didn't really have much post game as well, and especially in Emerald, Steven sort of storyline seemed to be very unfinished. Like you see Steven through the game, he was a bit mysterious, and in Ruby Sapphire, he was kind of finalized because Steven was the champion, and you know the champion, it serves a purpose and a role for being there. And you sort of got, oh, he's a champion, yeah, I get it now. But in Emerald, he wasn't the champion, and you do go battle him at the end, and I don't know, he seems a bit mysterious, and the storyline feels like it could carry on. I'm not too sure, but I feel like maybe either a continued storyline from Ruby Sapphire or a continued storyline from Black and White. I think that either of those things would be very good. Combination of them both would be brilliant, I think. Combination of like the characters as well, from like you got Anna and Hilbert, you got Steven, you got Wally, you got May, you got Brendan even. It was I think that would be a good idea. That's sort of my idea what I think they should do. You tell me what you think they should do with if they do make Ruby Sapphire Emerald remake. Like I said before, I'd love them to change up the storyline and get a load of new things into Hoenn, because Hoenn was very underrated for what it was, and it wasn't. I think it was one of the shortest games. I mean, during the main game, I think it was one of the longest, but it didn't really have a post game at all. So yeah, I would kind of like that. And one of the subtle things that is sort of a hint to a remake, that's not so much of a hint, but a thing that I found quite interesting, I suppose, is that part of the Elite Four music in Black and White is the same as part of the Elite Four music in Ruby Sapphire Emerald, which is quite a noticeable part as well, because when I first listened to it, I recognised it and I knew it from somewhere. I think it might have been actually in the that part used in the Pokemon anime in the Advanced series. So I think it was quite a recognisable part. So if the Game Freak are actually deciding to give out hints, then that could be one of them. I'll put a link to that somewhere in the video. So that's quite interesting. It'll take you to the exact part of the video which shows from the time when the part plays. Just click on both and you'll hear the similarity between them. So other people, when I looked it up, they said that there was a lot of like things implemented, like game mechanics in Black and White, that could mean the making Ruby Sapphire Emerald remakes. For example, they put in a dive, they put in water rapids and things like that. We put a lot of mechanics in that would suit Ruby Sapphire Emerald, which I think is quite a good idea, but there was also some hidden things, and the reason I think this is a really good hint is because I doubt Game Freak would actually purposely give away hints to Ruby Sapphire Emerald remakes, because of the fact that people will, the remakes are coming out and decide not to buy the older games, and therefore Game Freak would have a less profit, and therefore I don't think they would actually directly hint that they were making those game remakes, because I know in the games they've said they're making, like the directors and the game makers in the games in black and white actually say themselves that they are making a remake or something, and Ruby Sapphire Emerald remakes would be the remake to make. Or I think there's a couple other games that they could remake. Not too sure what else they could do. I mean, they could do the original Kanto games, that would make sense, but they didn't specifically say what games they were making. Therefore, if they were saying they were making a remake and didn't specifically say what they were making, then people wouldn't hesitate from buying it. But I would think people would hesitate from buying the original games if they did say they were making Ruby Sapphire Emerald remake. So I think they're actually going to save that until they actually officially announce it, if they are actually going to do it. So I doubt that they're going to purposely give away things like I've talked about before, all the other hints I've talked about. I doubt they're too legitimate, because really I don't think Game Freak would purposely give them away. So this is why I think this hint is so good, because all the game mechanics and all those sorts of things, they make it easier for the Ruby Sapphire Emerald games to be in that generation, because the generations are meant to have similarities between them, and a lot of things will be copied from Black and White and Black and White 2 onto the Ruby Sapphire remix. So basically this is sort of a thing for the game programmers, and therefore all the things are programs, they will just copy over and move it onto there. So it's sort of a thing to make it easier and to make it all like together rather than a hint. It's sort of the thing make it easier for the game makers. That's why I think it's such a good hint. As well as there being a few hidden things, there was a few hidden things in the programming in black and white. For example, there was a few contest things, which is no contest things in black and white. There's a few like sort of contest stats of moves, and a few things that was in Emerald and things like that. So could be hidden inside, so they can just copy it over and into the Ruby Sapphire remakes, and maybe we could have a remake there. I know they did still programming the Safari Ball, and there's all sorts of things like that, and the animation for Safari Balls, and a lot of people think this could be a very big hint to it. But the counter argument for this is that in fact that they copied over the game programming from the 4th generation, because the 4th generation had the Safari Ball, it had the contest, so it could just be copied information from the 4th generation, because that would make it much easier, because a lot of things stay the same in Pokemon, as you probably know, like the typings and the moves and things like that. So it could be a means for a remake, or it could not be. Also, there's another little thing, that in the 5th generation, all the Hoenn sprites, well, the majority of the Hoenn sprites got recolored, remade, got a whole different position and everything, whereas all the other sprites in the 4th generation and before actually only got a small change. A few of them got larger changes, but the majority of them got just a regular change of like positions and things. So the Hoenn sprites actually got a huge change. This could be for sort of the Ruby Sapphire remakes. We don't know, but the reason I think they actually did this rather than for the Ruby Sapphire remakes is because all the 4th gen Pokemon had pretty new sprites, because they're 4th generation Pokemon, and all the previous the 3rd generation Pokemon, actually I think they got big updates for the 4th generation, because obviously the older sprites didn't kind of suit. But the 3rd generation ones were kind of stuck in the middle, because a lot of them were kept the same in the 4th generation, and therefore they were the ones that required most of the update in the 5th generation. So I'm not quite sure if that's a hint, but let's hope we get the Ruby Sapphire remakes, because I'd love to get them. So let's move on to the question of the week. So this week's question of the week is, what do you want to see in the 5th generation? Do you want to see another game, or do you want them actually to move on to the 6th generation? Or do you want them to cut off the generations completely and not do any more new games? For example, do you want them to make Ruby Sapphire remakes? Do you want them to make another sequel to Black and White? Or do you want them to move to the next generation, make a whole new region? My personal opinion on this, I would love them to make Ruby Sapphire remakes. suppose a continued storyline from Ruby Sapphire Emerald. Well, probably the main. I'm not quite sure if I want the main storyline with an extension to the end, or a continued one. I think it should sort of start part way through where the battle between Kyogre and Groudon is going on from quite early on-ish, and then move on to afterwards, and have N come on. I mean, there's quite a time gap difference between the Emerald games and the Unova games, sorry, the Hoenn games and the Unova games, so I'm not too sure about that one, but I love a Ruby Sapphire remake from the 5th generation, and for the 6th generation I would like them to move on to that after the remakes. Maybe the 6th generation I would probably want a new region, but not so many new Pokemon. Probably keep all the older Pokemons and mix everything in together and have a combination of things from the older generations. Maybe a region in between the Unova region and the Kanto region, and something along those lines with all the regions sort of mixed, and have sort of a universal Pokemon region. I'm not quite sure, so tell me what you think about that. I want to say thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.